Then it began. The first wave of enemies emerged from the tree line. Kale's scanning devices could barely process them fast enough. They were massive, 3 times the size of a human, with multiple limbs ending in claws that glinted under the sun. Their eyes were small but bright, glowing with hunger and aggression. Their screeches tore through the forest like wind through metal, and Kyle felt an unfamiliar sensation tighten in his chest. Fear. The humans did not flinch. Captain Alara raised a hand, and the first shots were fired. Bolts of energy streaked through the air, connecting with the massive creatures. One of them stumbled, but another charged forward, shaking the ground with each step. Kyle felt a thrill. This was the chaos he had been sent to witness, and it was more extraordinary than he had imagined. One human soldier, a young man with a bright scarf tied around his neck, leapt onto a fallen tree trunk and swung a heavy metal rod at a creature. Kale blinked. The force of the creature's body should have crushed the human instantly. Yet the soldier dodged, rolled, and struck again. The creature roared and backed off, at least temporarily. Kale realized then that humans were not fearless. They were terrified, but they did not let terror stop them. They acted despite fear. And somehow in this act of defiance, they became something greater than the sum of their parts. He stepped forward. He had joined humans in battle, not yet fighting, but close enough to witness, to understand. His sensors recorded every movement, every expression, every surge of courage. And he learned something astonishing. Humans were unpredictable, yes. But that unpredictability was their strength. No algorithm could anticipate their choices completely. No strategy could fully contain them. The battle continued for hours. Kyle moved alongside humans, ducking behind rocks, observing, and occasionally helping when necessary. One creature broke through the human line, charging at a group of soldiers. Without thinking, Kale extended one of his limbs and pushed it off course, saving a soldier from crushing. The human looked at him with a mix of surprise and gratitude, and Kale realized he was beginning to feel something humans called camaraderie. As the sun began to set, the creatures retreated. The humans had won this encounter, though at a cost. Small fires burned in the forest, and some soldiers bore scratches, bruises, and fatigue that Kale could detect even from a distance. But their spirits were high. They cheered quietly, clapping each other on the back, sharing water and small rations. Kale hovered slightly above them, studying the scene. The humans' resilience was astonishing. Their courage was not the absence of fear. It was the decision to face it anyway. And Kale, for the first time in his life, felt a strange warmth in his chest. Respect, admiration, something very much like awe. Captain Alara approached him. "You survived your first day," she said simply. "Not everyone does. Some freeze, some run. You adapted." Kyle's eyes shimmered. Adaptation is necessary. Observation, essential. His words felt mechanical, yet he knew he was trying to express something more. Perhaps he was beginning to understand humans better than he understood himself. The sky above the human world was a deep, endless blue, streaked with thin clouds that glimmered like silver threads. Kyle, an alien from the distant planet Virelia, hovered silently above the surface, observing. His species had always been logical, calculating, and cautious. They valued intelligence over emotion and precision over chaos. But humans, these small, fragile beings, were different. Their technology seemed crude, their bodies weak compared to Kale's kind, yet something about them fascinated him. Kale had been sent by the Virelian Council to study humanity. For centuries, Virelians had observed countless civilizations, yet humans were unique. They were messy, loud, unpredictable, and yet, in their imperfection, there was a spark Kale did not fully understand. Today, he would go closer than ever before. Today, he would witness them in the midst of battle. Kyle hovered at the edge of a forest clearing, the scent of damp earth and pine filling his senses. Through his scanning devices, he saw the humans moving like ants. Small figures running, talking, preparing for something monumental. The humans were armed with metal suits, strange glowing sticks that shot bolts of energy, and small machines that rolled along the ground. None of it seemed impressive to Cale at first, but then he saw the determination in their movements, the precision in their chaos. A human with dark hair, wearing a patchwork armor of metal and cloth, glanced at Cale. She didn't scream or run. She simply nodded, as if she had expected him all along. Her name, Cale's translation devices whispered to him, was Captain Ilara. She was the leader of this small battalion. "You'll follow orders if you want to survive," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Stick with us, and maybe you'll make it through the day." Kyle tilted his head, intrigued. "Survive day?" His voice was smooth, metallic. Humans did not seem to notice his odd accent or his alien features. That itself was strange. He had expected fear, curiosity, perhaps even hostility. Instead, he found acceptance, or something like it. Ilara gestured for him to follow. Cale's multiple limbs moved gracefully as he descended from the hover point. He was tall and angular, his skin a pale silver that shimmered faintly in sunlight. His eyes were large, dark, and reflective. Yet among these humans, he felt welcomed. Perhaps humans had a strange instinct for tolerance, or perhaps they simply did not care about appearances when the stakes were high. The clearing opened to a small camp. Humans moved busily around fires, sharpening weapons, checking armor, and tending to small rolling machines that hummed softly. Kyle observed silently, learning. He noticed that no one scolded the others for mistakes, no one punished a weak moment. Instead, they encouraged, guided, and helped. It was chaotic, but strangely effective. "Do you always fight like this?" Cale asked, his voice a soft hum. Ilara laughed, a short, clear sound. "Do we always fight like humans? Yes, and it's terrifying. Sometimes. But it works. You'll see soon enough." Cale followed the humans as they moved toward the edge of the forest. The ground trembled slightly beneath them, not from the humans, but from the approaching enemy. His scanning devices picked up strange signatures, creatures larger than any Cale had ever seen, with hard shells and jagged limbs. Their movements were erratic but strong, and their intentions unmistakable. They were coming to destroy everything in their path. Kyle felt a stir of curiosity, and for the first time, a spark of something he could not name: anticipation. He had studied thousands of civilizations, observed wars from afar, and even designed battle strategies for his own species. Yet nothing had prepared him for this. These humans, fragile as they seemed, were unafraid. Ilara turned to him. "Stay close, watch, learn, and don't get in the way." Kyle inclined his head. He could follow orders. That, at least, was simple. The humans began to take positions. Some crouched behind rocks, aiming their energy sticks at the horizon. Others set up small rolling machines, which emitted low humming sounds, ready to explode if needed. Cale noticed their precision. Every human seemed to know their role. Every action, even in what looked like chaos, had purpose. Cale realized something important. Humans did not fight alone. They acted as one. Each individual contributed, not out of logic alone, but out of loyalty, trust, and courage. Even the smallest human could make a difference if they acted decisively. Cale had seen efficiency, strategy, and order in other species, but humans added something unique: heart. The battle intensified. Creatures crashed through the forest, scattering rocks and uprooting trees. Humans darted between cover, striking, retreating, and improvising. One soldier swung from a fallen tree, kicking a creature in its armored chest before landing safely behind a boulder. Another soldier tossed a glowing net that wrapped around a creature's limbs, slowing it down. Kale's eyes widened as he watched. These humans, fragile and small, were taking on monsters and surviving, not by strength alone, but by intelligence, courage, and teamwork. Suddenly, a creature broke through the human line, charging directly at a group of soldiers. Kyle's heart raced. This was the moment he had feared. He moved instinctively, rushing forward to intercept it. His limbs struck the creature, pushing it off course, giving the humans a chance to regroup. One of the soldiers, a young woman with fiery red hair, looked at him with a mix of surprise and gratitude. "Thanks," she said, her voice steady even as her eyes shone with fear. Kyle realized then that humans thrived under pressure. They were terrified, yes, but they did not let fear control them. Fear was a tool, a warning, a reminder of the stakes, but it did not stop them from acting. They were alive in a way that no Varelian calculation could predict. The battle raged for hours. Kyle moved alongside the humans, assisting when necessary, observing when necessary, and learning constantly. He saw humans fall and rise again, refusing to give up even when the odds were against them. He saw their creativity in combat, how they turned the environment into weapons, how they used their weakness as strength, and how they protected each other without hesitation. At one point, a creature grabbed a human soldier and lifted him high into the air. The soldier screamed, but Kyle did not hesitate. He extended a limb and struck the creature's arm, causing it to release the human. The soldier fell into Kale's arms, shaken but alive. Kale felt an unfamiliar warmth in his chest, a connection to these humans, a recognition of their courage. Captain Ilara was everywhere at once, giving orders, encouraging soldiers, and fighting alongside them. Her calm presence anchored the humans, giving them confidence and clarity amidst the chaos. Kyle realized that leadership was not just about giving orders, it was about inspiring others to act, even when fear threatened to paralyze them. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the battlefield. The creatures, wounded and frustrated, began to retreat. The humans, exhausted but victorious, cheered quietly. They had survived another day. They had faced genuine terror and acted anyway. "You're welcome here," Ilara said, placing a hand lightly on his arm. "If you want to fight beside us tomorrow, we'll need every bit of courage you can find. Humans fight for each other. That's why we survive." Kyle nodded. He looked at the forest, at the human soldiers tending their small fires, at the sky turning orange and pink with the setting sun. He had come to observe humans. He had expected to see chaos. He had expected confusion. What he had not expected was inspiration. And for the first time in his life, Kyle wondered what it would mean to be human. As night fell, the camp quieted. Kyle hovered silently, thinking. Tomorrow the battle would continue. The enemy would return, larger and more relentless. But he no longer felt fear, not completely. He felt anticipation. He felt resolve. Humans had shown him the first lesson. Courage is not the absence of terror. It is the strength to act despite it. And Kale, alien though he was, knew he wanted to learn more. The sun had not yet risen when Kale awoke above the human camp. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of damp earth and the faint smoke from last night's fires. The camp was quiet now, but Kale could sense the tension in the humans. They moved with purpose, checking weapons, sharpening tools, and whispering quietly to each other. The first light of dawn revealed their faces, determined, focused, and ready. Kyle had expected chaos, but instead he saw preparation. Every human had a role, every human had a duty, and every human was awake to the fact that the battle ahead could be their last. Captain Ilara stood near the center of the camp, her armor scratched from the previous day's fight. She surveyed the soldiers with a calm, unwavering gaze. "The enemy will return soon," she said softly, but her voice carried over the murmur of the camp. "We hold our ground today. We fight together, and we fight smart. No one stands alone." Kyle observed them quietly. Humans were fragile, yet they carried an inner fire that no enemy could easily extinguish. He had seen their courage yesterday, but now he would witness it in full, under the true weight of fear. A distant rumble shook the ground. Kyle's sensors detected the approach of the enemy. The massive creatures had returned, larger and more numerous than before. Their screeches echoed through the valley, sending birds into the sky. The humans moved quickly, forming a defensive line at the edge of the clearing. Kale positioned himself behind a large rock, watching. The first creature emerged. It was taller than any Kale had imagined, its limbs jagged and armored. Its eyes glowed with a deep red light, and its roar shook the ground beneath him. Kale felt a flicker of fear in his chest, a strange, heavy sensation. He had studied countless battles, predicted outcomes, and calculated probabilities. Yet the reality of facing such a creature was different. Alara raised her hand and the humans opened fire. Bolts of energy streaked through the air, striking the creature again and again. Sparks flew where the energy met its armor. The creature stumbled but did not fall. It swung a massive limb, smashing through the trees, sending splinters flying. A human soldier ducked just in time, his helmet catching a branch that would have crushed his head. Kyle's sensors recorded every movement, every sound, every moment of chaos. Then, another creature charged from the side. Kyle saw a young human, barely more than a boy, running directly toward it. He carried a small energy device in his hands and hurled it at the creature's legs. The device exploded in a flash of light, knocking the creature off balance. Kale's own body reacted before his mind did. He extended a limb, helping the boy push the creature further away. The boy looked at him with wide eyes, then nodded with understanding. Together, they managed to force the creature back temporarily. Kale floated above the battlefield, watching the humans tend to each other. They shared water, bandaged wounds, and whispered words of encouragement. He had never seen such care in the midst of war. Other species treated victory as a matter of efficiency, but humans celebrated life itself, even in the shadow of death. Ilara approached him once more. Her armor was battered, her face streaked with dirt, but her eyes shone with pride. "You did well today," she said. "You acted when it mattered. You didn't hesitate. That's what counts." Kyle inclined his head, processing her words. "I acted," he said slowly, "despite fear." Ilara smiled. "Exactly. That's what humans do. We feel fear, we feel pain, we feel loss, but we keep going. That's how we survive. That's how we win." Kyle's mind replayed the events of the day, the creatures, the chaos, the moments of terror, and the moments of courage. He realized that humans were not just fighters. They were storytellers of action, living legends in real time. Every decision, every risk, every act of bravery was a story, a spark of life against the darkness. As night fell, Kale hovered above the camp, thinking. He had joined humans in battle. He had faced genuine terror, and he had learned something that no Varelian calculation could teach. Courage was not the absence of fear. It was the strength to act despite it. The humans settled into the camp, exhausted but alive. Fires crackled, and the soft murmur of voices filled the night. Kale watched them quietly, feeling a sense of connection he had never known. He had come to study humans, but now he understood that he had much to learn, from their strength, their heart, and their unyielding spirit. Tomorrow the battle would continue. The enemy would return, larger and more relentless. But Kyle no longer feared. He felt anticipation, determination, and a growing admiration for these small, fragile, yet extraordinary beings. Humans had shown him the power of courage, the importance of unity, and the meaning of action in the face of true terror. And Kale, alien though he was, knew he would fight beside them again. The battlefield was quiet now. Smoke drifted from the forest, and the first light of dawn painted the horizon in pale shades of pink and gold. Kyle hovered above the camp, his limbs still tense from yesterday's battle. The humans were already moving, preparing for the next encounter. They worked quickly, cleaning weapons, patching armor, and checking their small machines. Despite exhaustion, their movements were precise, their faces determined. Kyle observed them quietly. Yesterday, he had seen humans in action. Today, he would see them in preparation. And as he watched, he realized something extraordinary. Humans did not fight because they were fearless. They fought because they had something worth protecting. Not just territory, not just victory, but each other. Captain Alara approached him, her armor scratched, but her posture strong. "The enemy will come again," she said calmly. "They are learning, adapting, and they will try harder this time. But we are ready. Are you ready, Kyle?" Kyle looked down at the humans. He had learned much from them already. He had learned courage, unity, and the power of action despite fear. Yet he still felt a strange doubt. Could he truly fight alongside them? Could he survive the horrors that lay ahead? "I am ready," Kyle replied slowly. His voice felt heavier, more thoughtful. "I have learned much. I wish to continue to assist." Alara smiled, a spark of pride in her eyes. "Then stay close, observe, and act when needed. We will face them together." The humans formed a defensive line along the edge of the clearing. Kyle moved with them, positioning himself behind a large rock. His sensors detected movement in the forest. The enemy was approaching, larger than before, their numbers greater, their intentions more aggressive. The first creature appeared, its eyes glowing red and limbs swinging like hammers. Kale's chest tightened. He felt fear, the same heavy, strange sensation he had experienced before. But he also felt something new: resolve. He would act, not out of instinct alone, but out of choice. Humans had taught him that courage was a decision, and he chose to stand with them. The battle began with a deafening roar. Humans darted between cover, firing energy bolts, tossing small explosive devices, and coordinating with precision. Kyle moved alongside them, his limbs striking creatures that broke through the line, pushing them back with force and strategy. He had learned to predict their movements, not with calculation, but by observing human behavior, their determination, and their willingness to act under pressure. One massive creature charged at a group of soldiers. Kyle acted quickly, lifting a fallen tree and using it to block the creature's path. The soldiers cheered, moving forward while the creature struggled. Kyle felt a strange warmth in his chest. He was no longer an observer. He was part of this team. He was part of their courage. A young human soldier stumbled, tripping over a root. Kyle extended a limb and caught him, pulling him back behind cover. The soldier looked up, eyes wide with gratitude. "Thanks," he said breathlessly. I don't know what I'd do without you." Kale nodded. He realized then that humans did not just fight for themselves. They fought for each other. Every action, every risk, every small act of bravery mattered. Courage multiplied when shared. He had never understood this before. The battle intensified. Creatures crashed through the forest, smashing trees and scattering rocks. Humans adapted constantly, improvising new strategies on the fly. One soldier rolled under a creature's swinging limb, slashing at its legs with a sharp metal blade. Another tossed a glowing net that entangled two creatures at once, slowing them down for the team to strike. Kyle marveled at their ingenuity. Every human, no matter how small or weak, had the power to change the outcome of the fight. Amid the chaos, Kyle noticed Captain Alara moving with precision, giving orders and assisting whenever needed. Her calm presence anchored the humans, giving them confidence and clarity. He understood that leadership was not just about giving instructions, it was about inspiring others to act, even when terror threatened to paralyze them. Hours passed. The creatures began to retreat, wounded and frustrated. The humans, though exhausted, had survived another battle. They cheered quietly, tending to each other, sharing water and patching wounds. Kyle hovered above them, watching. He had faced genuine terror, yet he did not feel fear as he had before. He felt pride. He felt admiration. He felt respect. Ilara approached him once more. "You've done well, Kale," she said. "You acted with courage, helped when needed, and never hesitated. That's what counts. Not every soldier can do what you did." Kale processed her words. "I understand now. Courage is choice. Fear is not weakness." He paused. "Humans are remarkable," Ilara smiled. "We are not perfect. We are scared, we are tired, and we make mistakes. But we keep going. That is what makes us strong. That is what makes us human." Kyle looked at the humans around him. They laughed quietly, sharing stories from the battle, helping each other, and celebrating life in the midst of destruction. He realized then that humanity's true strength was not in their weapons, their armor, or even their numbers. It was in their spirit, their ability to act, to endure, and to inspire courage in others. Kyle had been sent to study humans, to observe them from a distance. But now he understood that observation alone was not enough. He wanted to fight beside them, to be part of their story, and to learn from them firsthand. He had seen their courage, their determination, and their unity. And he wanted to contribute, not out of obligation, but out of respect and admiration. As night fell, the humans settled into camp. Fires crackled, and the soft murmur of voices filled the air. Kyle hovered quietly, reflecting on the past days. He had joined humans in battle. He had faced genuine terror, and he had been transformed. The enemy would return, larger and more relentless, but Kyle no longer feared. He had learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. He had learned that unity, trust, and determination could overcome even the most terrifying odds. And he had learned that humans, fragile as they seemed, were extraordinary beyond measure. Kale descended into the camp, standing among the humans. They welcomed him not as an alien, not as a visitor, but as one of them. He shared in their stories, their laughter, and their quiet moments of reflection. For the first time in his life, Kale felt a sense of belonging. He had found a place where courage, heart, and determination mattered more than logic, calculation, or perfection. Captain Ilara approached him again, her expression thoughtful. "Tomorrow the fight continues," she said. "But no matter what happens, remember this. We survive together, we fight together, and we inspire each other. That is our strength." Kyle nodded, understanding fully now. "I will remember. I will fight with you." The night deepened, and the stars appeared overhead. Kyle looked at the sky, thinking of his home planet, his species, and all the lessons he had learned. He had come to study humans, expecting to observe. Instead, he had been transformed. He had faced terror, discovered courage, and learned the meaning of respect, unity, and spirit. And Kale knew one truth that would stay with him forever. Humans were not just survivors. They were warriors. Not because they were fearless, but because they dared to act despite fear. They were remarkable, extraordinary, and inspiring. And Kale, alien though he was, had become part of their story, a story of courage, hope, and the enduring power of the human spirit. As the camp settled into silence, Kale hovered above, watching the humans sleep. He felt a quiet peace, a sense of purpose, and a deep respect. Tomorrow, the battle would continue. Tomorrow, the terror would return. But Kale was ready. He had joined humans in battle. He had faced genuine terror. And he had been changed forever. For the first time, Kyle understood what it meant to be part of something greater than oneself. He understood the human heart, the human spirit, and the extraordinary power that came from courage, unity, and respect. And he knew that, no matter what the future held, he would stand with humans, undaunted, resolute, and inspired.